Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. My name is Scott Woods, Product Manager for Composer, also for our entire technical communication suite here at Hawk Ridge Systems, which involves Composer, SOLIDWORKS Inspection, SOLIDWORKS Model-Based Definitions, and our new product, SOLIDWORKS Visualize. And today we're going to go over complete assembly instructions without leaving SOLIDWORKS Composer. So this is brand new stuff. This is a brand new concept. It's something I've had in the works for a while. I've worked with a lot of customers and you know, a lot of feedback, and there were some limitations in the software that we've overcome and just developed a really good workflow to be able to go from SOLIDWORKS or whatever your CAD is that you're designing your parts into SOLIDWORKS Composer. In Composer, doing all of the assembly instructions and outputting that as whatever you need, regardless if that is images or a PDF or video or interactive content. Now, this webinar is going to be focused around assembly instructions, and if you are a current Composer user, I'm sure you know already that it can do a variety of other things, including technical rendering. We can do online part manuals, you know, build materials, animation, so assembly animation, marketing animation, that kind of stuff. So Composer is a very widely used and very versatile tool. Today we're focusing on assembly instructions, and really as a PDF assembly instruction, but at the tail end I'll go ahead and go over, you know, basically what we can output, because the steps are exactly the same. It doesn't matter what you want that to be, regardless if it's a video or interactive or a PDF. Your process is the same, and we just decide to push that out differently at the very end. Okay, so staying in Composer without leaving. Assume that a lot of you probably know what I mean by that, but some of you might not. So let me just go ahead and just do a quick recap of kind of the current process that we're seeing in a lot of our companies. So what the typical process is for companies who are not using Composer is the design is done in SOLIDWORKS or another CAD application. Now, the end goal is to get that data into a PDF as an assembly instruction. And the problem is you have to do that with images. So you have to take this 3D model and you have to somehow get it into a 2D format and then into a PDF with text and everything step by step at the very end. So what that typically entitles is going into configurations, creating a ton of configurations, one for every step of the process. Maybe you're going to take screenshots of that, maybe you're going to render that out, or maybe you're going to not do that. You're going to push the product through R&D or through production, take photos of it along the way. There's a lot of different ways to get those steps into a photo or an image that you're then going to bring into a program like Microsoft Word or Adobe InDesign or, you know, Microsoft Publisher. A lot of those different programs to take these images, compile them together, add text, create assembly instructions out the door. The problem with all of those processes is that there's no associativity back to SOLIDWORKS. You go back to SOLIDWORKS, and I say SOLIDWORKS because of course we're all SOLIDWORKS here, but even if it's another CAD application, this will still work in this process. You go back to your CAD, you go back to your design, you edit your design, your assembly instructions don't change. They stay exactly how they are, and you have to go through the whole process again in order to update that. Now, it's a huge problem. It's a big waste of time, and just it's archaic. It's a thing of the past and thing that we're trying to change here. So the two major benefits of going SOLIDWORKS and then SOLIDWORKS Composer and then publication is the elimination of programs and steps. And so CAD, regardless if that's SOLIDWORKS or any other CAD application, you still need that application to, that's why the asterisk is there, you still need CAD to design. So Composer doesn't do any of your 3D models. So you create your 3D models and do all the engineering, it all works, everything is golden, everything is good. But what it's going to eliminate is the configurations that you have to do in that program in order to create the steps. It also is going to eliminate taking all those photos, taking all those screenshots, and then various other applications. There's a ton of applications in there. The list goes on and on. for programs that you can take. You can, take snapshots of your screen. You can do photo editing. These are all tools that people have used to try to supplement a program that doesn't do all of the technical documentation in the same interface. So, and we'll go into that into more detail here. But then also to reduce the pages. So by doing in this method that I'm about to show, we can create many, many steps in a single page. And so every page of your technical documentation, your assembly documentation is valuable. Every one of those you have to print, you have to manage, you have to staple together, you have to send with your product, or that's going to be to your end customer, if it's going to be in-house. Every single page takes a certain amount of time to manage and to create. If we can eliminate the amount of paper, or I'm sorry, haven't got to that one yet, but pages, which in turn eliminates the amount of paper, right? If you are printing this, the least amount of pages, the least amount of paper, it's kind of a win-win situation. So we get as many steps as we can in a process in a single page. Now, with a lot of programs out there that do assembly documentation that use a 3D model, the inherent issue is we're dealing with a 3D model, we're dealing within a viewport space, and we have a model we're trying to show steps on. And the problem is that it's a 3D model. So you create an exploded view, and that takes up your entire page, and that's like a single step of the process. And so for every step of the process, you don't want to have a separate page in your assembly instructions. And so that's what we're going to get to here. So it's all in the setup. I'm about to jump into Composer. There's some setup that is needed. Again, this is a brand new workflow. It's a brand new concept, and something that we here at Hawkridge actually developed. So there are particulars that you want to know and to set up in your document. Once those are set up, it makes updating in the future a breeze. And so if you've taken our SOLIDWORKS Composer training class, you should know what the baseline property view is. This is basically a view within your Composer document that houses all of your custom properties. So when you change something in Composer, if you change a part to red or change a part to a different size or something like that, that's a custom property in Composer that's separate than the property that's in SOLIDWORKS. So when you update from SOLIDWORKS, it's going to take your settings from SOLIDWORKS. You're going to update anything from that you have in Composer unless you have a baseline property view that houses all your changes, that after update you can then push the rest of the document and retain your updates. Now I'm going to introduce a brand new concept here, which is the detail view. And the name of this might change. Baseline property view is a real snazzy name. It's something we took a little while to come up with. This one is called detail view. Maybe it's baseline property detail view, I don't know. But basically it's another view that does the same thing as the baseline property view. This one contains all of your detail views. You can really get away with having 1, 2, maybe 3 of these in your entire document. And then at the end we choose not to add that to the final publication. Now this one is going to be a separate view that controls the position of your components. So the baseline property view controls all the properties of your components. The detail view is going to control the location of your components. And so you can go through, you can create a bunch of exploded views within Composer, and you can kind of save those as you can save them as little detailed views and use them within your document wherever you want. Now this allows us to put as many steps as we can fit on a page, or want to fit on a page, that we can fit, depending on the print size, of course. Okay. That's for the very end. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to Composer, which is right here. And let's talk about this a little bit. So first, I would like to show you what I have, just to kind of show the concepts and what we're going to have at the end. And then I'm going to start at the very beginning and walk you through this one step at a time, because it is a brand new concept. So we'll go ahead and show you all the little tricks here. So I've imported this model, right? Nothing special about it so far. It went from SOLIDWORKS and it's in Composer. It's ready for us to do something with it. Now I have this second view that's called baseline property, and it's a baseline property view. Again, if you've taken the training course that we offer, we go over this in detail. It's a lot of detail. So there's a lot of little things to know about this. But you see the circle around it. All that is if you go to author circle, you can make these circles. I add these circles to anything that is a property that's going to be controlling, or a view that's going to be controlling properties. That way when you look at these in the views, you'll see that they look different. And this is just a little identifier to myself to say, oh, if I see those rings, I know that's not a step in my process. Those are views that are there that are controlling something. And then I'll label these. So you can just click on these, rename them just like anything else. That says baseline property. So I know that this view here is controlling the properties of my individual components. When you click on a component, we have the properties, property tab. So anything within this pane here that you change is going to be a custom properties in Composer, and it's going to be saved into this view. If I go to another view, some of these properties, and I don't know because you're working and you don't really want to manage all this, that's why we have these views to manage it for us. So these properties, when I update from SOLIDWORKS, might be overwritten. So if I change this part to red, but in SOLIDWORKS it's black, and I update from SOLIDWORKS, it's going to change black here. If I wanted to stay red, I would go to my baseline property, I would tell it to stay red, I would tell it to be red, I would update the view. After I update from SOLIDWORKS and all these other parts change to black, I would click that part, I would say set as neutral property, I would then go ahead and refresh my views, this little option right here for redraw all views, and then it would go ahead and push that color to all the views. And so it's this baseline property view that's controlling all those attributes. Now for what I'm going to show today, that's not so important. Just a little tidbit into our training class there to kind of get an understanding for what that is if you've ever seen that before, and a little tip for creating other documents in the future. Again, that one for this purpose, not so important. What is important is the next one, which is a detailed view. I did the same thing here, so I have these circles that just say, hey, you know, we're doing something here, and I have another one. Now, the catch is that you can have a detailed view controlling as many detailed views as you want. But the catch is that if you have various configurations of different exploded models, or I should say a little bit different. If you have a single subassembly that's exploded in different configurations, so parts are exploded apart but maybe in a different way, then in that case you need to create a second detail view. And I wanted to show that here. So I have one, the detail view where this shows these guys exploded, and then I have another detail view of showing them in a collapsed state. So I could have a single detailed view with all of my exploded views, and I could have another detailed view with everything in a collapsed state. Basically 2 detailed views for the entire document showing all these. Now I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit here into another part that I'm going to be showing, but just to let you guys know, any subassemblies that are in SOLIDWORKS, come over into Composer and you can click them here. And so you can easily select a subassembly, you can isolate it, you can show it in the detailed views. Super easy to do. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. I specifically chose this model for various reasons, but for one reason is that it doesn't have a lot of subassemblies. As you can see, a lot of these components are right on the top level. And so what we can do is we can select the components that we want to group together, and we can choose we can create what's called a selection set, and at any time select those as if they were a subassembly. Now ideally they would be a subassembly in SOLIDWORKS. You bring that into Composer, it would be a subassembly here, you click on it, done. That isn't always the case, it's no problem at all. Select your components, there's a little button right here that says create selection set, that will create that selection set, and then from there we isolate it, explode it, all that stuff, which I'll get into here in a little bit. Okay, so back to these guys. So we have the baseline property view controlling all the properties of the components, and the detailed views controlling the location of the components. So hopefully that makes sense. If this is a new concept, so this will be recorded, it will be on our website, it will be available to everybody. Yeah, so you can check it out over and over again. We'll also be creating blogs off of this and more written kind of instructions, because sometimes you watch a video and you got me rambling on like I am right now and you don't want to listen to that over and over again, and so it's nice to have the video along with some blogs and some text and stuff like that. So we'll go ahead and get that for you guys. It'll just take a few weeks to put that together. Okay, so now we get into the steps, and so here we have step 1, and we have some detailed views that are pointing to sections of the model. I can't really see what's going on there, so I have another one here with the shell hidden so I can actually see inside the component. This is all done with detailed views. Now I've been talking detailed views, but I haven't shown anybody where they're at yet. If you go to workshops, technical illustration, it's going to be right here, that little tiny checkbox that's kind of easy to miss. It says detailed view. You click that, you box in what you want to have a detailed view of, you make your selection. If you don't have anything selected, it's going to select everything in that box. If you only wanted a specific component, you could select that specific component, say create. There's some options here for shadows and colored regions. The color regions only work if the part's colored that you're currently taking the snapshot of the detailed view of. So a little catch there. But that would be the detail of that. So I just created that and I just deleted it. Okay. So you look at this page here and you say, okay, there's a lot of information here. You could put a lot more in here, but it's better than a 3D model. It's better than a 3D model that's been exploded. We have a detailed view of specifics, pointing to different subassemblies. I could even highlight these, which I should have probably done here, is colored these ones here, so when you look at this, you can see where those arrows are actually pointing to. But we have some annotations. This is a control board 1, control board 2, some arrows. Those arrows are right here in author, arrow, and you can just take these guys and you can put arrows wherever you want, kind of thing. Like those guys. Okay, so when you're dealing with detailed views and you're dealing with annotations, you're dealing with arrows, you have to remember about layers as well. We're in a 3D environment, but we're also dealing with 2D elements. And so when you add, let's say, a text, and say I just say test, let me make this a little bit bigger so we can see it, and I take this test, and right now it's over the top of all the parts because I made it last. I click on that, you'll see depth right here. There's a slider, so I could choose basically for layers. That's really the exact same concept of where this guy is. So it's in the back, but I take this guy, bring it. This guy's even further back, so I bring it forward, or something like that. Oh, see I have the background checked right there. If you have a background checked, then it's always going to be in the background. And so we have a couple different options here. We can say, hey, put it all the way in the back, or choose the depth and choose, kind of what layer it is. If we have two things that are both in the background, then we have the depth control to see which one's on top of the other. So you do have full control over that. One thing I love about Composer is you can mess things up, just like I was doing. You can move stuff around, you can really do whatever you want. You go back to the view, you double click, and everything comes back. It's great. So you don't have to worry about messing something up, which is awesome for situations like this. Okay, so there's the first part of step 1. Here's the second part of step 2 that shows now the detailed views in their exploded state. We also have some other things like some hardware down here. We got some tools up here. I'll go over that in just a moment to show how we bring in that library of components. I also wanted to show how we bring in the background. I've been asked that a lot this year. People are like, oh, I have this drawing template. I want to bring it in the background. I got my logo. I got this page format. Composer, when you first start it, when you first install it, it does like this kind of a grayish blue background. It's kind of boring. It's it's plain, and then when you print it, you got this kind of colored background, which isn't always good either. So we can definitely fix that. Okay, before that, I'll talk a little bit about the collaboration tree. So everybody should know what the assembly tree is. That's a tree of all of our components. Collaboration tree. This is anything two-dimensional, and this is what makes Composer as powerful as it is. So that it makes this whole process that I'm doing right now possible, because I can make these, and I made them somewhere else. I didn't make them here. I made them here in my detailed views. So I have this this guy right here is this exact same image. You can see it's still selected in detailed view 2. So I have my exploited state, I got a detail view of that, and I can just keep it here. But because that is saved in my collaboration tree, I'll say that it's saved right there. Now I probably would want to come in here, rename this, by the way, F2 on the keyboard, shortcut key for rename, and I would call this, I don't know, detail 1, just as a lack of a better name there. But you know, you probably want to call it something so you can easily identify it and find it later. If you don't call it out, if you don't name it, the easiest way to find it is to, let me pop this back here. There we go. The easiest way to find it would be to go to any view that has it, select it, go to the collaboration tree, and you'll see it will highlight here. So if it was something like this, it'll tell you exactly which one it is. So easy to find it that way, even easier to find it if you do rename it. But let's go back here. And so you'll see that I wanted this detail view to show up in this current page. All I need to do is I just check it or uncheck it. Check it to show it, uncheck it to hide it, just like that. So you go to those detail views, you create your detail views, you go to your page you want to show it on, you hit the checkbox. Now chances are when you hit the checkbox it's going to have the attachment, it's going to have you know, maybe a shadow behind it or the border and all this other stuff you see. That's all controlled in the properties here. You just click on the detail view, and if you don't want to see that attachment, or if you want to change the attachment, you do that right here. There's another option here for shadow. I can turn that off or show it. There is the border and all that stuff. So you have full control over how this looks. Okay, so that's really the concept of this entire presentation, is just that. It is that simple, and it's all in the setup. So you want to create those views that are going to control your detailed views. You create your exploited views, you create the detailed view, you save that view, push it off to the side, don't worry about it. That view now is if you ever want to create more detailed views or if you want to update, and we'll go over that at the end. Now here, we just toggle them on and off to show them or hide them. These elements for the screwdriver, maybe you want to wear safety glasses for whatever reason, you get a, I'm not sure why you need it for this stuff, but you know, just for safety precautions. We also have some hardware here. Now, how to get there is you go to workshops, you go to image library, and by default, when you install Composer, you get this. You get this tooling. If you go into widgets, you get these widgets if you want to show play animations and things like that. But this is what comes out of the box when you install it. Now these are images, and these are just happen to be bitmap images. You can use JPEGs too. But this is saved into a directory. You'll see right here for just program, SOLIDWORKS Corp, SOLIDWORKS Composer images. That's where they're dumping these files. So if you dump any images there, they'll show up here, where you can drag and drop into your project to use, just like that. Now, you don't have to keep them here. I actually recommend to put a location on your network. Say, hey, this is our image library on the network. Put any images there. You hit these 3 little dots. Repoint that to your network. Next time you open it up, it's going to be pointing to that location. Now, for hardware, this is a toolbox that I'm actually in the process of creating. So if you look, these are all the components I have so far. All you have to do for this is if you have a SOLIDWORKS model or any model that has, you know, bolts, nuts, screws, washers, you import it in, those are going to import with them. Something as easy as, actually I can show it right here, I didn't even think about that. So say that we wanted to create something for this library. We have a little guy right there. Right click, isolate, bring that to the forefront, something like that. I'd want to go to my rendering style and probably make it a flat technical just to match the rest of this. Also, you'll see the line width the outline is kind of small. So I'd want to come in here and I want to say, well, the outline, you know, maybe increase that, something like that, to make it a little bit thicker. I would then go to workshops, high resolution image, choose my resolution, save as, and I'd want to push this to, I might as well do it right here. So this is going to be program files. And again, this would probably be someplace on your network. And SOLIDWORKS Composer, images, and I'm going to put it here, save as a bitmap just to be consistent with all the rest. and we'll call it test or something like that. Looks like I got a bunch of those already, so we'll say test 22. Okay, and put it there. Now that I have that there, I don't even need to save this view. You could save the view if you wanted, but if I just double-clicked off of it, it goes away, but I still keep that image. Now I go to my image library, and I don't know if I'll need to refresh or anything like that, but there should be a test 22. I'm sure it's here, I'm just not seeing it. There it is right there. Test 22, drag and drop that in, and we got our toolbox component, just like that. So yeah, as you bring models into Composer, you isolate, you save the little image, you put it in your toolbox. As you do that over and over again, this toolbox grows bigger and bigger. And in the future, as you use it more, it becomes better. And then you get to a stage like this, we need to bring something in. You bring something in, drag and drop, you got it, and then you can just go ahead and put some text next to it and call out what it is. So very, very convenient. Another thing I was thinking about doing that I thought about kind of late is I got these components. You can also put text in there. It's just an image, so you drag and drop it in, and the text comes with it, so you don't have to. You can skip that step as well. Okay, so off topic a little bit, running a little bit late in time, but I did want to show also the background. It's real quick. So let's say that we have something like this, and we want to bring a background in. All you do is you go to Author, Image 2D. Just make a block. It doesn't really matter. Just had a question come in that says, does this work on multi-body parts as well as assemblies and sub-assemblies? Absolutely. The trick is when you go to open and you go to import something, this merge file into one actor per part. If that is selected from multi-body parts, that multi-body part would come in as a solid. You can't break it up. So if you're going to import a multi-body part that you want to break up into individual components for that library, you want to uncheck that when importing that one part. That is just for that library. I'm assuming that's what the question's for, but that's how you would get around that. Okay, so for the background, we have the image. Now we're going to go ahead and do a texture. Let me point this to a location. Sorry, I got too much stuff on my desktop. It happens with a lot of different projects. Then we're going to go to this guy here. I got some images, and I have a template. And actually, if I show this template, it's just an image. You see it's a JPEG image. It looks like that. Very, very basic. You can make that as fancy as you want. Click that guy, open. Take it, I could take the shadows off. If you hold down Shift, it's going to scale to the image. If you let go of Shift, you can scale it to however you want to stretch to your viewport, so it's up to you. Once it's there, you right-click. Oh, I'm sorry, that's another program. Once it's there, you say Background Enabled, and then most importantly for freeze, you want to set that to freeze. That way you don't accidentally select it. It's going to be in the collaboration pane, so at any time we can go ahead and we can select it here. I'm not even sure, it's 12. I'd want to rename it here, so of course I could find it later. Something like that. And there's my background. Okay, so that is literally that easy. Then we take text blocks and stuff, we put them in their images, and we spice it up and make it look all nice and create a template from it. Okay, so now let's show a little bit of practice here. So we're half an hour in. I think that's probably what I was allotted for this, but I want to go a little bit over because I'm not done. So we got a lot to cover here. So we're just gonna kind of power through. So, so we got our quadcopter. Now let's say that we wanted to create some detailed views, some exploded detailed views of some components. We want to create some assembly instructions, and we want to save this as a PDF. So what I would do is I would first say, okay, what components do I want to have in this detailed view? And just to make things easy, we'll take something simple. So we'll take that guy, look at the assembly tree. They're kind of sporadic throughout the assembly. We got that, and let's take that, and then we got 4 bolts at the bottom. We'll take those as well. Now that I have all of them selected in the tree, I'm going to hit this guy right here, which is create a selection set, and we'll call this motor, something like that. And then I can just double click off of it, go anywhere I want, maybe go back to this view. Also, before I do anything else, I want to create what's called a camera view. What that's going to do is allow me, if I'm going to zoom in, make some selections, I double click, it's going to bring me back to my camera angle, so I don't lose this kind of orientation. It doesn't do anything else but change the camera. All right, so assembly, motor, select that. So that's going to be the base and the motor, and I can easily select that at any time. Now I'm going to go to my views, and let's go to this guy. Why not? Let's go to this guy. This guy's more of the exploded one. I could really do it either way. It's going to go and take these guys, set them aside. They can be as big or small as you want for this view. It doesn't really matter. The point is just that they're there. Now I would like to show some models that aren't here right now. So I'm going to go to assembly, the motor. I'm going to check that. All the components I had selected are now here, and I'm just going to go ahead and probably take these and move them aside just so I can see them. Again, this whole detailed view, it doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to keep the information that you want. And so there's my detailed view of it in the collapsed state. Let's go ahead and create a exploded state. So we'll take these guys, explode them out, something like that. There's some screws at the bottom. I'll take those and explode them out, something like that. Okay. Now, I want to really make this look nice. So I want this guy here to be transparent and kind of more invisible just to show it's there, but I don't want it to take up kind of my real estate. And I want these guys to be colored. So to do that, I'm going to go to render mode. I'm going to set this to custom. And this is going to allow me to do a custom rendering of each component. And so I'm going to say, okay, well, this component here, which is the base, in the properties for the rendering, I'm going to set that to silhouette. I'm also going to take my opacity and turn it down. It was already down, but something like that, just to make it so it's there, but it's kind of see-through. Now these guys, and I'll just go ahead and select these guys here. These guys are going to be flat technical, and I want them to be colored just how they are. And I can go in it and I could go ahead and I could put some exploded lines in there, create an associated path from the neutral. That's not going to go where I want it to. So I'd probably want to do something like polyline. Let's go ahead and select that circular edge there, and perhaps that circular edge. Oh, maybe this one. There's a good one. There. Alright, I'd do the same thing for these guys. The problem is I pulled them out, and so I changed that origin. I should have, when I moved everything, I should have went to assembly select mode, and then moved them, and I wouldn't have this issue. So just a little oopsie there. So anyways, moving on, we'll take this guy. We will say turn off, stay on top. Let's go ahead and make it so it's dot, and yeah, that should be good enough. Okay, so we have this set up. I'm going to go ahead and update this view. Let's go to Workshops, Technical, Illustration, Detailed View, Box In. I want to have everything, so I'm not going to make any selections because I would like it to select all the components here. And it's going to go adjust the box so it encompasses everything. I want lines, color regions, and shadows, and create. It's going to go ahead and develop that detailed view. And then after it creates it, if you're not happy with the line width, we can adjust that. I'm just going to make it a little bigger just to see it. Looks like the line width is a little bit thick, so I'm going to select that. I'm going to go down to my, let's go to the line width is right there. It's 1.2, maybe 0.9. Yeah, it looks a little bit better. Okay. Again, this view doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to have these views, these detailed views in it. I'm going to go and update that, so now I can update that later on, whatever I want. And let's go to our brand new view. And I'm going to show this. So since it's already selected, I know exactly where it is in my tree. I'm going to check it to turn it on, move it aside, and do something like that. So just like that, that is the process to say, hey, here is my model, but here it is in the exploded state. For this arc, I might want to change that to like red or something, just to show that it's make it pop, make it show it a little bit better. Let's go ahead and make the border of this also red and maybe a little bit thicker, something like that. All right, so we got our 3D model. We have our detailed view. Let's go ahead and make a new step of that. And now maybe I want another detailed view here to show just these models. So again, I did change the camera orientation, so I'm going to create a new camera so I can get back here. And so this is where you can really get creative with it. So once you have the steps down like this, the rest is just using it over and over, getting used to the tool, and evolving it. Again, this is a new process, so it's going to get better and better as we kind of go through and find these little tricks and stuff. But one thing I found that works really good once you kind of get to this stage is we want to do another detailed view. Let's go ahead and say detailed view, and I'm going to rotate and kind of move this guy just so I can see that motor with the fan and everything. I'll go ahead and box around it. Oop, didn't mean to unselect it. Just like that. And I want to click that, click that, click that. And let's say turn off colored region so it's just lines so we can just see what we're dealing with here. I'd probably want to select the bolts too, but that's all good. We'll go and create that. And now if I double click my camera view, camera goes back to where it was, nothing else changes. I can turn off detail view. I can take this guy. Let's go ahead and turn off the attachment, maybe make it a bit bigger. It is a vector image, so you can scale that as much as you want. I'm not real fond of that shadow, so I'll turn that off. Let's even turn off the border here. We don't need that. Okay, so here is a step. So we have our assembly, which is going to be these guys. This probably want to be a bit bigger because it is important. Maybe this guy's doesn't need to be quite as big. Anyways, I'm just kind of logistics here, right? So there's my assembly, very clear. Here's the components. Here's the components. Now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, I probably want to build material on these guys. Now when I talk about it's all in the setup, really should have done that at the very beginning of the project. You said build materials at the very beginning, and at this stage just turn them on, makes it easy. I forgot to do that, but you can do it at any stage. I can do it here. I can go back and do it and just update. But for any case, I'm just going to go ahead and say that we want to take these components, which again I have my selection set, which makes it super convenient to anytime go back and select all those components. Let's go to the BOM workshop. Let's say generate IDs. We're going to do by compare geometry. Then we have a unique ID for every piece of geometry. I can go ahead and create the callouts here. I'd rather put it on this guy here. And so now that I'm thinking about this would probably be a little bit better to have the exploded state here and then the detailed view here of the collapse. But you live and learn, just kind of get through, and I probably would have done a little bit differently, but I think it's just all about concept at this point. All right, so we have our components. Let's go ahead and take this guy. He doesn't need to be there. Here, again, everything is in our views or our collaboration tabs, so all of these callouts now, you can see I have checkbox next to them. I know that they're turned on, and now those are the ones I want to deal with, and I want to make them a little bit bigger. Now, all these settings that I've done so far, as far as, increase font, increase the balloon, the coloring, borders, all that stuff, it's all in styles. So the styles tab here, you can create a template. So every time you use something, it does the exact same setting. So I don't have to do this over and over again, just a little FYI there. Okay, author, magnet, grab this guy and align these guys to make something a little bit more good looking. You'll see that it's over the 5, so I'm going to go ahead and say that I want to send that to the background so it doesn't do that. All right. Oh, BOM table. Let's show that. So we got our BOM table. We'll put this as free, turn up the size, and stick it off to the side there, something like that. Okay, so now I have my bill of materials. I have my balloons, laid out the components. I got a detailed view there. I got a detailed view here. Again, this is a very quick example of the concept here, but really what you'd want to do is try to fit as many steps as you can into a single page. So right now this is a page of the document, and so once I save it as a PDF here in a second, every one of these views is going to be a page, and this page, every detail view could be a different step. So you could have 8 different steps on a single page instead of having 8 separate pages. Okay, just had a question come in. It says, if you have a similar assembly that you want to make instructions for, can you take a copy of this composer file and change it to refer to the new assembly, like you can by changing the reference in SOLIDWORKS drawing? Yes, you can to a point. So there isn't technically a template file in Composer. They're all dealt with an SMG file. But you can take anything like this and you can delete the geometry and save as an SMG file, and then when you import, you say File, Open, choose your new assembly, say Merge into the current document. That will merge your new file into the current document. Now you could have them side by side, which is another idea here. So if you had this assembly right now that had the quadcopter at the top, which is right here, you import another assembly, it's going to put it right underneath it. I could just go here and I could click the quadcopter, hide the 3D geometry, and show the other one and use it. So you can use an SMG like a template, really is the concept of doing that. And that's the whole point of doing the background. That's really why I wanted to show that. We have another video, we will have more videos coming up on how to create templates. Didn't want to go too much into that one on this one, but it really is the exact same thing. You just set it up, save as an SMG file, use that SMG file in the future, merge into the current document, and it creates it like a template. So, great question. Okay, so now this is where the little gotcha comes. And so we have, let's save this document just in case. I'll just save it to the desktop here. Okay, so we got this document and we want to save it as a PDF. Now this is a current workflow step that I would like to eliminate. Right now it's here. Hopefully soon in the future we won't have to do this anymore. We can choose which steps, because right now as a PDF you can save out a single view or all views. You can't currently choose which views to save out into that PDF, which hopefully will be changing soon, so we don't have to do this step. But one reason why I put these little circles in there, so I know I save my document, I click on these guys with the circles in them, and actually the temporary camera views I should have deleted too, but that's there. You take these, you delete them, you save the PDF, and then close the document. That way when you open the document next time you have those there. So again, that's like a little step. They're like, yeah, it'd be nice if that you didn't have to do that. It's one of those things. It's a new process, so we're working with SOLIDWORKS right now to try to eliminate this step, but right now this is an important step to do. So we're going to go ahead and print all views. See right here, I want to say pages and then select my views. Right now it's grayed out, but hopefully we can do that in the future. So right now I'm going to go ahead and say choose a PDF printer, and I want to say this is landscape, and let's go ahead and turn up the DPI, and also, where's my paper? Paper size, there it is. I think it's legal. I'm pretty sure I set this document to legal. Anyways, if it's not 100% correct, you just set that to whoever your document page is set to. Just like that, and we're going to go ahead and save this again to the desktop. So it says all views. I've deleted the views that I don't want in the PDF. Let's go ahead and put this directly onto the desktop. And we'll save it. And there we go. So then we have our PDF, and every page of the PDF is going to be a page or a view in Composer. And so the more you can fit onto each one of those, the more you're going to fit here. And we don't have those detailed views that they're not necessary. So at this point I could undo. Yeah, that would bring back the views. I don't like to add undo as part of a workflow, especially there they are. But I think the workflow should be you close the document because we're done with it anyways, and then we go back and reopen it up. So, okay, so that is what I wanted to show everybody today. And so thank you for attending. I'm going to go ahead and leave this open for another 5-10 minutes, depending on how many questions come in. If you have a question, just ask, and we'll answer it right on the fly here. And so just as a recap of, actually, let me back it up, just to kind of recap what we did here, is we went straight from SOLIDWORKS to Composer, and then set up this file in Composer, and again, set it up as if it was a template. And this setup can be set up once, save as an SMG. In the future, you would open up that SMG, you say File, Open, merge into current document, merge your assembly into the current document, and all your settings stay. So you don't have to do this over and over again. Everybody likes templates, right? It's kind of a huge time saver there. So we're going to eliminate configurations in your CAD application. We're going to eliminate taking photos, screenshots, and using all those other programs, because we're not taking from Composer out to images and then into another program. We're going straight from Composer to a PDF. So that's going to reduce the pages, eliminate text, and of course that's going to be less printing, less paper. Okay, so good question just came in. Great question. Thank you, Frank. Sorry, I said Frank. He works with us, so it's fine. So he reminded me to make an interactive assembly guide from these views. So I said I was going to do that at the beginning, and I kind of forgot that I was going to do that. So thank you very much. So let me go ahead and jump back into Composer, and we'll kind of wrap that up. Come on. Yeah. So, all right. So I have this whole document that I created a PDF from. So at this point, we'll say, okay, what else do you want to do with it? Do we want to save it as a video? If you want to save it as a video, we go into the timeline, and we would simply drag and drop, not that one, we would simply drag and drop anything we want from the views into the timeline. And if anything doesn't show up, you just go into the collaboration, you turn it on. Then you save that as a video. Oh. How's that? I think we had a little, sound like we had a little technical hiccup there. So you should be able to see my screen. Okay, cool. So what I'm doing here is just saying, if you want to make a video, you drag and drop that stuff into the timeline, done. You save it as a video from there. Don't really want to go too much into animation, but just wanted to show what that stuff looks like. Okay, so that's creating a video of the content that we just made. Now if you want an interactive document of this content, you go to File, you go to Publish, Save As, there it is. So File, Save As, Package. Again, it's just an exe, and what that's going to be is it's going to be the Composer player that's built right into the exe file. You can also save it just as an SMG file. You can install the player and open that SMG file, and you have an interactive content or interactive document. It's going to be just like a PDF, but you can do much more with it. When you go from page to page, it doesn't, let me open that up here. When you go to page in a PDF, it doesn't transition. It just goes, here's one page, here's the second page. When we go from page to page in the interactive document, it's going to show that transition. It's going to go from step 1 to step 2. Everything is going to translate and kind of animate in that mode. So it gives the user the kind of heads up to say, hey, this component went here, that we're now moving to the next step. You get a lot more interactive experience, and I'll show that here. So if I go step 1 to step 2, you can see the model moving and everything kind of animating and going into place. And that's all 100% automatic. So you don't have to do anything special in order to make these things pop up and do that. It does it for you. Now, we can still take this document, we can still print it as if it was a PDF. You can email this to somebody. It's an EXE, so sometimes there's logistics in that, trying to get an EXE through email. But if you put it through like Dropbox or stuck on a website, or you send it to somebody, then they can open it up, and they just need a PC. They can view this player-free. They get an interactive experience. Additional to this is the 3D model. So we can take this, we can rotate it around, I can go through, I can hide components, I can look through, I can make selections. I show this sometimes, people are like, whoa, I don't want to give my customer access to do that. Totally fine. You can totally control what people can and can't do in this application. Right now, it's a free-for-all, saying, hey, everything's allowed. But you can say, hey, you're allowed to measure it, or you're not allowed to measure it. You're not allowed to select things. You're not allowed to hide things. You're not even allowed to rotate it. So you have full control over all of that. And that is the interactive document. And again, I haven't done anything special here. So I took the same document that I was making the PDF, and I can output it as a video. I can output it as an EXE. I can even create like an online parts list from this. So once you have all of your views that you like all set up, you just go to workshops, you go to technical illustration, and now we're going to go ahead and save this. And I could go multiple, and I could go, I could choose which views I would like to push out, or I can do all my views. And but basically, let me just do this guy here. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Put a new folder on the desktop here. This is just what I need, right? So we'll call this step 01A, and it's going to be a SVG file. So it's going to be a vector-based graphics file that is two-dimensional. It's going to open up in any browser, and I have now output that to that file. Now I can take another one. I'm going to save this one as an SVG as well. I'll just keep that name. That's fine. And I'm going to go back to this guy, and I want to say, you know, if I click on something, it's going to go to that second step. So let's say, I don't know, I'm going to click on the shell. It's going to jump into that next step. And it's more of a interactive parts list, part manual, online experience kind of thing. And so I'll say whenever I click on that, it's going to do something. So now I can go to link. I can link this to the second SVG file. And I'm just going to go ahead and let's go and update this. And I'm going to save it out and overwrite that guy. And it'll make sense here in a second why I just did that. Okay, now I go back to my publication, and I go to this guy here, which opened up on a different screen. And now I say, it was a format issue here. That will come in if you do it right. So now I have a shell. I click on that, and it's going to go to the next page, or whatever I want that to go to. And so we can create this kind of interactive experience where you say, hey, I have this assembly. I'm going to jump into this subassembly because I want to look at those components I want to assemble. And let's say that there was an assembly of this shell or whatever. You click on that, and it would show you the details for assembling that. So very, very powerful. You do things once, you get all these different outputs. And so, you know, you create that PDF, and 5 more minutes of work, you get something like this where you can really jump in and get a lot more out of it. So, okay, so let me go here. And if any more questions, I just want to look through. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure I didn't see any. I just want to make sure there wasn't any missing questions there, and it looks like I got them all. So yeah, let me go ahead and keep this open for about another 5 minutes. Any more questions come in, we'll go ahead and address those. And if not, thank you for attending, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and come again next time. We do our webinar Wednesdays every Wednesday, so keep coming back. Just got a question come in asking if we're going to share this video. Absolutely. It's being recorded right now, and I just need to get that over to marketing. They'll get it up online. It's going to be located in, I might as well just show that right here. So we go to our website, which is awkwardssys.com, and we go to tutorials. Just kind of mouse over the tutorial, you get a drop-down list. You go to Composer Tutorials, and it's going to be right here. There's our Webinar Wednesday, and we get a whole list of files. So just stay tuned to this section right here, and as soon as that's available, it will pop up here. It'll be called, let me find the exact name so I don't steer you wrong, Complete Assembly Instructions Without Leaving SOLIDWORKS Composer. So it should be titled exactly that, so easy to find. It probably even have this image, so it'll look something exactly like this.